Good morning, everybody, and a happy Wednesday morning. Another super long video. We have some royal news, and then we've got some Harry Meghan stuff. Did you forget that Meghan was supposed to pick up an award in LA, and now she's not even listed as an honoree? Oh, it's true. There's a lot in here. Let's just jump in and get busy, shall we? Let's go. We're going to start off with Princess Anne, the Princess Royal. She attended the Royal Celtic Society's 200th gala dinner at Holyrood Palace. And in case you don't see it around her neck, it would appear that she is wearing the 3-strand pearl necklace that belonged to her mother, Queen Elizabeth. I myself am a big fan of that outfit, and I love the gloves. Now, sticking with Princess Anne, this past Friday, as patron of Vine Trust, she attended their 40th anniversary dinner at Babcock International. Again, looking fabulous. All right, next up, Prince William. I'm going to try to pronounce this. He received the Crown Prince of Kuwait, whose name is Sheikh Sabah Al Khaled Al Hamad Al Mubarak Al Sabah, at Windsor Castle. Now, this meeting happened on Monday. The Crown Prince is on an official visit to the UK, marking the next stop in a string of international engagements for the royal after his appearance at the United Nations General Assembly in New York. He actually arrived on Friday, and he's had meetings with UK officials, enhancing strategic partnerships, investment collaboration, etc., etc. Next up, King Charles and Queen Camilla are going to meet Pope Leo, the new pope, during a state visit to the Vatican next month. Now, don't forget, they met Pope Francis 12 days before his death when they were in Rome, in the Vatican in early April. When Pope Leo was, elected, the king sent a private message congratulating him. He is the first ever pontiff from the United States, marking the start of his papacy by calling for unity within the church and for it to act as a leaven of harmony for humanity. He's formerly Cardinal Robert Prevost from Chicago. He's 70 years old. Hopefully, he'll hang out as Pope for a long time. He looks like a really nice guy. All right, let's keep moving. Next up, Australia's Prime Minister, who we know the King has met several times in the past. He was there in 2024 and again in 2025, Anthony Albanese. He met with the King at Balmoral this past Sunday, and during the 90-minute audience with King Charles, he apparently was asked by the media if there were plans for Prince William and Kate to tour Australia, and he said, and I'm quoting, "I certainly hope there will be one. There's a standing invitation that the royal family are always welcome in Australia. It was wonderful to welcome King Charles and Queen Camilla recently. They had a successful visit. His Majesty is very engaged, and I hope the Prince and Princess of Wales are able to visit as well." Now, we know that Prince George was there as a baby, and we know that Prince George and Prince Charlotte have both gone with their parents on royal tours. Prince Louis has not. So they're saying that possibly if they go on this royal tour, they'll take all the children, including Louis. It'll be a first for him. I think that's wonderful. All right, so this guy's remarks were very exciting. However, keep in mind there's been no official announcement of an upcoming tour from either Kensington Palace or Buckingham Palace. But Catherine herself said during a royal engagement on St. Patrick's Day that she hoped to take her kids aboard with her and William, saying that George finds it fascinating that he's been to Australia and New Zealand. And she said, "I'd like to go back there with the kids now, but it's finding time to do that." Be interesting if they go. All right, let's keep going. This next story, first of all, the title, Prince Harry's Invictus Games. It's not Prince Harry's, but the foundation announced that it strengthened ties with NATO. Really? The Deputy Chief Executive Officer of the Invictus Games, Richard Smith, addressed NATO's communications conference in Athens last week, and he spoke of the need on individuals undertaking their recovery and all of those affected by injury and illness, as well as recognition for those serving in the armed forces. I wonder who paid for his trip out there. Anyway, according to him, in November of last year, they presented to NATO's military committee and more recently attended the ceremony marking the 70th anniversary of Germany's accession to NATO in Berlin, highlighting the game's impact. Yeah, okay. I don't think that highlights anything. Just remember that this entire thing was inspired by the American Warrior Games. The idea was stolen by Harry, but it was set up by Harry, William, Catherine, and the Royal Foundation. And the whole thing, by the way, is that they're trying to get Ukraine. They're saying that their work in Ukraine offers opportunities for further collaboration, that their foundation is working with Ukraine's Minister of Veteran Affairs and the Prime Minister's office to align with NATO. See, Harry's putting his foot now where it doesn't belong. All right, let's move on. You guys remember the other morning when I told you that Meghan was trying to put herself off as Jewish? Well, somebody went into the Wayback Machine, and on April 25th of 2014, as you can see on the top, it said that Markle was born Rachel Meghan Markle and was raised in Berlin, Germany, and her mother was African American Jewish. And then if you look down more mid, there's a beige stripe, and below that, this is an edit from May 12th of 2014. It says Markle was raised in Berlin, Germany, and her mother is African American, and her father is of Dutch and Irish descent. And it suddenly doesn't say anything about Doria being Jewish anymore after 3 weeks. Now that stayed until August 1st of 2014, when it was changed from Berlin to Los Angeles, California. I just don't understand. By the way, spouse Engelson was removed November 10th of 2014 and was back on again April 2nd of 2015. So let's see. First, she was part Malta to get a free trip to Malta, as I told you in my previous video. Then she's 43% Nigerian, which is something I might add she's never proven to anybody. She's never shown any proof of any of these allegations. And of course, before she was claiming she was Jewish, part Jewish, and then she changed it. I mean, I'm telling you, this woman just keeps reinventing herself as necessary. It's the weirdest thing. All right, now let's move on to this weird article. Basically, what it's saying is Harry's talking about spending more time in the UK, possibly having a second base there. He's contemplating returning for good, and Meghan is shocked that Harry would even consider moving back to Britain after everything they've been through and how much work they've done to rebuild their lives in America. So basically, they want different things. They're saying Harry can be stubborn, but Meghan doesn't back down either. And if this disagreement can't be resolved, they're going to, possibly divorce. Listen, I think their marriage is already on the rocks, horribly on the rocks. And Harry can try to spin this whole thing with his father about a rosy reunion, but nobody's buying it. And I think that when she divorces, she'll write a book, maybe a movie right deal about it. And because she's never going to go back. Never. At the same time, articles are coming out saying that Meghan apparently made a humiliating and groveling phone call to Charles after Harry, during his meeting with his dad, informed her that the king was hurt by some public remarks they made as a couple. And this was the first occasion in a long time, they're reporting, that Harry actually offered an apology. He acknowledged that maybe some of his and Meghan's public remarks had been harmful. Whether Charles accepted it or not is unclear. I personally don't believe that any call was made. There'd be too much chance of her recording it. Let's move on now to one of Meghan Markle's best friends, Kelly McKean-Zafin. She went on Instagram this week. She put up a lot of posts. She's just gushing about her friendship with Meghan Markle and how they met through, remember, Trevity Trev. So if they're such good friends, and she's been the best friend for 20 years, how come she wasn't invited to Meghan Markle's wedding while other people that Meghan had never met, like, Oprah and the Clooneys, got invitations? She wasn't at the baby shower for Meghan Markle. And there's absolutely no pictures of the two of them together until a few years ago. Not even on the TIG. As a matter of fact, she's not even mentioned on the TIG. Meghan is calling her bestie now. Before that, it was Jessica Mulroney. Get it? Personally, I think Meghan needed some good PR, so she called Kelly up and Kelly put something on Instagram, because that's how this kind of stuff works. All right, let's move on now to Thomas Markle, who gave an interview to Tina Brown when she was writing her book. And what he said about Meghan and her dating life was that she was always very clear about who she wanted. He said her first year of college, she pointed to a guy and said, "That's going to be my boyfriend." And then he became her boyfriend. He said she's very, very effective with men. Same thing happened with Trevor. Same thing happened with Chef Corey Vitiello. Anybody that she wants, she sets her sights on them and she goes after them. That's how she got Harry. All right, I want to move on to this story. Definitely want to cover this. Sarah Ferguson, since she divorced Andrew, she was left with millions at the time. This included a £1.4 million trust fund set up for Beatrice and Eugenie, £500,000 from the Queen to buy a new house for her and her children. She had £350,000 in cash, and she got a monthly allowance based on Andrew's salary as a Royal Naval officer. But she had $4.2 million overdrafted at the Royal Bankers. And so what did she do to make money? Well, a lot of things. She started in 96 with a novel called Budgie the Little Helicopter, and it got her more than £140,000 in U.S. serialization rights and a newspaper deal. She claimed the books were inspired by her own helicopter lessons, but she was later accused of copying the idea, like Meghan Markle did, from an out-of-print 1964 book, Gettr the Helicopter. She also got a £3 million TV deal for an animated series which ran for 39 episodes on ITV and went on to air in the United States. And she wrote a book about her husband's great-great-great-grandparents, Victoria and Albert. And then she pitched it to 20th Century Fox, and they picked it up for the 2009 film The Young Victoria. She later wrote her own autobiography, My Story, which earned her an advance of £800,000 and made it into the top 3 books in America. She cashed in on the serial rights around the world and got an offer for £250,000 and was looking for free advertising as well. She then signed a deal worth another £500,000 with some New York publishers and did 2 books called The Royal Switch and Bright Lights, which were dedicated to daughters Eugenie and Beatrice. After that, she accepted £84,000 from Paris Match magazine. It published topless poolside photos of her. But then she signed a contract with the same magazine to work as a reporter interviewing the rich and famous, and she got £50,000 an article. She was a £600,000 rent-a-royal. I believe we've seen that with Harry and Meghan. She earned £500,000 for filming an Ocean Spray commercial. Then in 1996, she landed an 11-year, £1 million a year deal to make her Diet Queen of America. We all know about that one. She wrote a lifestyle book with Weight Watchers, including Dieting with the Duchess. She made £500,000 for promoting Wedgwood china in the United States. Then she had a 10-pound rag doll, Little Red, sold exclusively by New York's toy giant FAO Schwarz to raise money for her U.S. children's charity, Chances for Children. Then she went to Hollywood, where she voiced the role of the Queen in Walt Disney's The Cat That Looked at a King. After that, she did 2 fly-on-the-wall documentaries, and the first, The Duchess in Hull, aired in 2008. Sarah lived on a council estate and advised the family on changing their diet. Then she went on to another estate in Manchester. She was called The Duchess on the Estate, and the idea was to help transform it into a thriving local community. About the same time, she put on a disguise and filmed Duchess and Daughters, The Secret Mission, getting Beatrice and Eugenie to travel with her to Romania and Turkey to investigate the treatment of children in orphanages. And it caused a diplomatic row because Turkish officials accused her of launching a smear campaign against the country. Now, we all know that she got caught in the cash for access sting against Prince Andrew, and that didn't go well for her. And then we know that she still had debts of about £4 million, so she did a warts and all television series for about £200,000. She claimed that she regretted divorcing Andrew and disclosed her mother had criticized her as a toddler, telling her she had the sign of the devil. Sarah then popped up on American television in 2015 plugging a blender bizarrely named the Fusion Accelerator Food Emulsifier, and she did infomercials with this thing. We all know what happened to Andrew after that, and a few months later she landed a 22-book deal for novels based on her own life. Now, let me just say, I could go on and on and on with the things that she's done and the collaborations and whatever, but you know the one thing she never did? She never trashed the royals. She never said a horrible thing or one bad word against the Queen or the royal family. Nothing. She had to hustle to pay her bills. No doubt about that. But she never once trashed the royals in the process. All right, let's move on. Moving on, this whole story about the leaking and the planning and the men in gray suits is only making a reconciliation harder for Harry. And I have to say, in case you guys didn't notice, ever since Harry went to see King Charles, you have negative articles about William. You have negative this, you have negative that. Positive puff pieces about Harry. They're really pushing Harry and slamming William. And absolutely, Harry and Meghan are behind it. And you know they're behind it because it started the second that King Charles opened the door and met his son. That was the catalyst for this entire PR thing that's going on. And I don't think Harry and Meghan realize how bad it's making it look on them. People aren't stupid. People know what he's doing. And it's the same thing he's been doing for years. It's never stopped. It's the same MO. And again, this is King Charles's fault for allowing Harry to stick a foot in the door. Blind items are coming out saying Harry's responsible. And the United States tabloid culture is off the rails since Charles opened the door for that meeting. It's crazy. And now we're having these drip-fed articles. Harry held a secret meeting with the Duke of Kent during his 4-day trip to Britain. I mean, the guy just cannot put a sock in it. He cannot shut up. All right, really quick, Project Healthy Minds, the ones that's giving Harry and Meghan the award. Well, one of my subscribers, Ed, wrote to me and said that Archwell gave them some money in 2022. Interesting. All right, let's move on to our big story, what I consider to be our big story. It was announced on June 14th, the Natural History Museum in Los Angeles was going to be hosting a Night of Wonder gala at their exposition park, and they were going to honor Meghan Markle for her work championing women and underserved communities. And they said she's a native Angelino who's worked to advance community well-being and expand opportunity, blah, blah, blah. Now, let me remind you, it wasn't long after that announcement was made that the gala was postponed on June 10th because of the ongoing immigration protests and clashes in the city, and the museum was citing the unrest as the reason for the rescheduling of the event, okay? So now they've rescheduled it for October 15th, and there's a full guest list. People from across LA's cultural and philanthropic communities are expected to attend. And a single ticket, just so you know, to go to the event is $1,500. But Meghan's not on the list anymore to attend. She's just not, she's totally absent. The official schedule doesn't list her name anymore as an honoree. So that leads me to the question, why is she suddenly not getting the award? Why is she suddenly not going where she's going to get accolades and get to walk up and give a word salad speech? Why is she not listed anymore? Obviously, something has happened. Something's going on. Not that we'll ever know what it is. But yeah, so maybe this other award is more important for her. Oh my goodness, you guys know I want your comments, make them good. Don't forget to hit the like and the subscribe button and the bell for all notifications. Then go down into the description box where you'll find the link to my Twitter, my Gettr, my Rumble, my email, a link to my second channel, a link to my father's book, which is still up for sale on Amazon, and a link to my Amazon wish list as well as my physical address. For those of you who have donated to my coffee fund, thank you so much. And as always, you guys, have a great day.